out a long time ago that it's much easier to control people when we're all watching the same TV shows, listening to the same radio stations, going to the same movies, looking at the same billboards, eating the same food, and speaking the same language.
The freedom of speech is being taken away.
We don't care if it's true. Just say it, sell it. Anything you practice, you'll get good at, including
Yeah, is that useful
BS.
to you?
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to start promoting for people to get together and start creating all hazards survival communities. You know, the ones that can survive whatever man and nature have to throw at us, but provide a quality lifestyle that, you know, people can do. It's not huddling in a concrete box.
Right.
You know, that's no fun.
It's no fun, and that's something you have put plenty of emphasis on all these years about those that go out and buy these huge sort of bunkers and what ultimately will happen to those folks.
Well, you know, I've really come to a simple conclusion that in the coming Planet X tribulation, the single leading cause of death is going to be self-selection. People are literally going to opt for a die-in-place strategy or whatever they think. I mean, they're the ones that say things, clever things like, well, if it's going to be that bad, then I just assume be at ground zero when it happens. And, you know, you could call it short-sighted, but on the other hand, that's really the vast majority of people in the final analysis are just going to let it happen until it starts to happening. And then when your life is in danger, you know, you see the wall of water rushing up the street towards you, you're not going to be standing there in the middle of the street going, okay, I told everybody this is how I want to die, so I'm going to stand here and wait for it to hit me. No, you're going to be climbing upstairs over people's head and moving as fast as you can and praying feet don't fail me now. It's human survival. But that's the reason why denial. On the other hand, I want to focus on people who are critical thinkers. They're in awareness, many of whom have been having dreams, visions, and premonitions since they were children.
Absolutely.
All right. And to me, now is the time for them to gather and to create communities. A win-win community. It's from my book, Win-Win Survival Handbook. And this is part of actually 3 texts that I wrote. One is Surviving the Planet X Tribulation. The other is Radio Free Earth. And then Win-Win Survival Handbook. Now, one is for explaining the Planet X flyby to church leaders so that they can get their heads around it and then lead their flocks to safety. Because in my opinion, churches are the best option for survival organization. I'm talking about, you know, families, a typical community of 100 to 150, or it could be more. But the whole point of a win-win is it's about families helping families and working together to survive. Now, I know that a lot of people have this me and mine attitude. And they build a bunker for themselves and their loved ones, and they stock it and supply it. And they're going to be clever, and they're going to think that nobody knows where they're at. I don't care where you are in the country. People are going to know who you are and what you're doing.
They'll find you.
They will find you.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, you know, the thing is, you know, imagine there you are, and you're in a bunker, and you're going, all right, we're in great shape. We have survived the major event. You see, this goes back to Cold War days. Prepping goes back to this notion of building fallout shelters. And the whole thing about a fallout shelter, you know, 3 rules. It's me and mine only. All we have to do is survive the event, and then the rest is on you. You're clever enough to survive, so you'll be clever enough to figure out what to do later. Survival is not the best thing for on-the-job training. All right. You really need to have a more, a better plan. And with conventional prepping, what do you really got? You're going to huddle in the ground in a cold box. There's going to be violence above you, isolation below where you are. You're going to be eating dead food, which means you're going to have rationing. And if you've stockpiled nothing but GMO and processed foods, trust me, you're going to have food-related sicknesses you don't even want to think about right now. Then there's that constant uncertainty. Oh my gosh, we hear a new hum in the machine room, or is that water leaking or something else? But then everything is uncertain. You don't know what's doing.
That's
right. And
right.
the biggest uncertainty is what happens afterwards.
That's right. You're going to have to eventually surface.
That's right. And you talk to anybody who builds bunkers, conventional bunkers, and you ask them, okay, so I get this bunker and we survived the initial event. What happens afterwards? And they're just going to look at you and shrug their shoulders and say, I don't know.
That's on you, right? That's what they're going to say.
That's on you.
Yeah.
We just build concrete boxes in the ground.
You take care of the rest.
You take care of the rest. And I see how people, it's funny when you see how they sell these things, and they have kind of clever ideas. And this is, polishing the apple. Like, for example, they'll say, well, you're going to have a vent pipe. Okay. You're in a box. You're in the ground. You're human beings. We generate humidity and we generate heat. And so you've got to expel that. And what are you going to do? You're just going to have a vent pipe. So somebody says, well, I have a clever idea. We'll take and run the vent pipe up through the center of a standing tree that's dead, and no one's going to see the vent pipe. The problem is that sounds really clever and attractive in a sales pitch, but here's what will happen in a world where it's really gone sideways. You are going to have some real nasties out there. You're going to have renegades, rape gangs, predators of all kinds, and the worst are going to be the cannibals.
Right.
These are not stupid people. They get something with night vision capability, and all they got to do is at night they quietly walk around with their night vision gear, and they look for the heat plumes coming out of the ground, the vent pipes for the bunkers. And then they've got you. They know you're there. Now, they're not going to go dig you out. They're just going to patiently wait for you to finally come up to the surface. And then they're going to take a spoil. And all you're going to do, that's the reason why I call people that, think this is the way to do it. I call them bunker bunnies. Because they're going to become a food source.
Yeah, they're just bait down there for sure.
That's right.
And it's been going on since the dawn of time, where people sort of sneak up on others and have their way with them. So this will come back full circle.
That's right. And you can have all the fancy guns and everything like that. The first thing criminals learn when they go to prison is how to take a gun away from a non-criminal. So people think, a criminal comes and you point a gun at them and they're going to stop and they're going to be afraid of you. Now the first thing going through their head is, how do I take that weapon away from this fool and use it on the fool?
How do I disarm him?
That's right. Or better yet, rob them, mug them, or whatever they want to do with their own pistols.
That's right.
And leave you for dead. So the whole point, my premise is, there is safety in numbers. There is strength in numbers. It's an old idiom, been around forever. There is strength in numbers. Think about it. When we wouldn't have a country from coast to coast if pioneers had been going west in little me and mine clusters, 1 or 2 wagons. They wouldn't have made it that far. All right. The reason why they got across was they would go in wagon trains with hundreds of wagons. Okay. I mean, they would move across the plains like the great buffalo herds. Well, there's strength in numbers. And before you go take on 100 or so pioneers with rifles, go look for the me and mine idiots, the bunker bunnies. They're softer targets, and even with their more advanced weaponry. So the real point of it is that the concept I want to do with Win-Win Survival Handbook is to focus on a lifestyle change. All right. It's not, when we think about fallout bunkers and shelters and things like that, these are a plan B, and with a plan B, you got to know when to activate your plan B. Otherwise, it's totally worthless. Or you have to be within range of your plan B, or it's totally worthless. All right. If you're at grandma's house and you got a quarter tank of gas, and that is when the guacamole hits the fan, and your bunker and all your supplies are 200 miles away,
it's kind of useless, right? Yeah.
That's it. What I'm talking about is for people to form new communities of families. And these are permanent communities. These are high technology eco villages with aquaponics, permaculture, ranching, farming, a whole different way of life. And in these communities, the goal is that you produce 10 times more food than you need. That's a family farm ratio for viability. And what you're doing is, in times of normal times, so to speak, you're selling that excess at market to finance your community and to accumulate money. But when things do go sideways, what you do with your excess capacity is you begin sharing it locally. And you start working locally with churches, nonprofits, you work with people, and so you are providing for them. And it's something where you're saying, fine, you'd send a truck, we're going to load it up, and you take it and you distribute this amongst the people. And then this way, you're creating a whole different situation. You're not these wild-eyed, these preppers with your fancy assault rifles and your camouflage old pickup trucks racing around at night and trying to be not noticed. You're actually very important parts of the community. So with the win-win, the concept that I'm talking about is you have safety in numbers, you have continuous supply of fresh food. And because you are sharing food with the people around you, you now become a valued member of the greater community. This leads to local security alliances, which ensure your continuity of life. And also because you're operating a really strong, excellent ham radio shack with old ham, analog style ham radios, you're going to be able to, after all other forms of communications have cratered, you're going to be able to communicate with other communities hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. And you're going to be able to share videos and illustrations and blueprints and do things, not as fast as we can with our smartphones, but you can share that information and people are going to help each other. And I believe that will spawn just having a whole bunch of win-win communities and other communities that have communication ability, and they start sharing knowledge, survival knowledge. That is going to bring on a technology evolution that is on the scale of the Renaissance. Because imagine it. We know there are so many patents that have been developed for, literally free energy technologies, for simple therapies that cure many of the diseases that plague us, cancer and so forth. And all of this is suppressed and controlled by elites and their goons at the FBI, who go in and an inventor comes up with a new idea. And next thing he knows, he's got FBI goons kicking in his doors with machine guns and dogs. They take everything and they start turning his life upside down and making it hell on earth. And this just destroying him for just trying to do something really wonderful. Well, you're not going to have the patent office and the goons that are all marching in lockstep to the orders of the elites. People are just going to be able to start sharing this information, and they will. So, we tend to look at going through this coming tribulation. Is it going to be bad? Hell yes, it's going to be bad.
That's right. And of course, you've been following this for a long time now, many years now. And of course, your latest article, Expect a Deep Impact Event in 2022. We'll definitely talk about that here in a moment. I was going to just add to this that, we did see that tsunami warning out here in California. And I did think about you, by the way, Marshall. I thought, oh my, Marshall must be all over this now.
Yeah, I saw the tsunami warnings. Actually, what I found interesting was the NASA footage of the shock wave that came off the Tonga volcanic eruption. We're going to start seeing more events like this. We're just going to start seeing more bad of everything. Now, the thing that is a little upsetting in my science articles, if you go and you look at my website, yowusa.com, and one of the things that we point out in Signs 60, and this is the one we really need to kind of get into a little bit. These articles are becoming progressively difficult for me to write because, first off, things that we are modeling are coming out to be true, and there's no happy story here.
Right. No good happy ending in sight, in other words.
Yeah, you're just not on the front end. It don't look good. And, in this last one, I said 2022, extremely high risk of a deep impact event. In 2023, it's a virtual certainty. But before I get to that, I want to just point out in that article, relative to what we're seeing in Tonga, is that the USGS has been deceptively and intentionally jiggering the numbers they are reporting for earthquakes.
Oh, they've been doing that for a long time now, indeed.
They've been doing that now during the Obama administration. It seemed like there wasn't a major earthquake that wasn't downgraded. Remember, we had the days, they said it was a 6.1, but it's actually a 5.7. They said it was a 6.2, but it's a 5.9.
Yes.
They said it was a 5.3, but it's actually a 4.9. And they were always doing that nonsense to jigger the stuff down. But when we looked at it, we actually went back in and we found in June of last year, we started seeing stuff in our data sets that was because we were looking for historical data, and we were seeing mismatches like crazy. And what we found was that in the lead up to 2012, the jiggering was massive. We had between, I'd say, 1,500 or 15,000 to 37,000 earthquakes reported each year for 2008 through 2012. But once the USGS started quietly upgrading base with the actual real numbers, that number went up to where we were having anywhere between 90,000 to 120,000 earthquakes per year. And that's what the USGS is now reporting. So they've gone back and cleaned up the mess. And what they've done then for December of this year was that it looks like they've gone back to old tricks. The December 2021, they reported 8,835 quakes. I mean, we had to go back all the way to 2011 to see a lower number, all right, for being reported. And it looks like now things are picking up. It is the Biden administration. They've obviously at NASA found who the white hats were, and at USGS that were trying to clean up the mess, got rid of them. And like they say, old tricks are the best tricks. So
That's right.
USGS we just feel that this is another case of jiggering. They're going back to this old stunt.
Messing with the numbers again.
And the American Meteor Society, these folks are top drawer. They are top drawer. Just love them. And their stuff is balls on accurate. All right. And so what we have, going into December 21 and wrapping up the years, in some events, it varied with multi-state and huge events. Last year was higher, but this year, the total number of fireballs again set a new record for December. And so now what we have is another all-time high record.